Lovely. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining in for the online information session for MSc in Energy Management. My name is Vatsal Chandra. Some of you may know me already. For those who do not, I look after the recruitment and admissions for the MSc in Energy Management here at the London campus. And with me today, we are joined by Bikramjit Sengupta, who is a current student and also student ambassador. Bikram, could you please give a brief introduction about where you are from and what phase of energy management are you currently in?
Hi Vatsal, hi everyone. So I'm Bikramjit Sengupta. I'm Indian. I come from India, and I've had a previous experience of 8 years in the oil and gas industry, both in engineering and project management. I am in my third semester, and this is the last semester. It gets over in June, and after that, it's placements and master thesis.
Thank you, Bikram. Yes, everyone. Bikram started with us in London about 6 months ago, and very recently, just about in towards the last bit of March, uh, he, along with others, went to Paris. Right. So for today, we are going to go through quickly about energy management. Some of you may already know about the program. Some of you uh, may have no idea at all, but since we have Bikram here, we will be able to delve a bit deeper into certain topics, for example, company consultancy projects and the modules, etc. Feel free to type in your questions in the Q&A, and we will be happy to take them as we go along or after the end of the session. Right, just before we get into the energy management, a bit about ESCP. ESCP is the world's first business school. For those who do not know, we are a French school by our origin, but we have 6 different campuses across Europe. So we are in Berlin, in London, in Madrid, Paris, Turin, and Warsaw. Energy management is based out of London and Paris, and it is taught completely in English. The energy management is, of course, a specialization that provides with a holistic 360-degree view of the energy sector. And I think uh, Bikram will also share as we go along in terms of the kind of modules that you've studied and you will cover in your time here. It's an 18-month or a 21-month long program. Like I said, 6 months in London, 3 months in Paris. For 9 months, you will look at full-time on-campus study, including practical seminars and guest talks, etc. And then there are also elements of 9 months of professional development, which include thesis and internship as well. Those who have less than 240 European credits, which generally tends to be students with just 3 years of a bachelor's degree, they may have to do an additional online term, which we will talk about later in the slides as well. A bit about the accreditation. We are accredited by the French state. We're also professionally accredited by Energy Institute and GARP as well, which is the Global Association of Risk Professionals. It is one of the top, or probably the top, energy management masters out there in the world available right now, and there aren't too many. So I'd say that we are completely in line and probably the best option available for you. The next intake, of course, is October this year. The session begins from 2nd October. Of course, if you have less than 240 ECTS, you will have to do an online term from July onwards. And the next admission deadline is just in 4 days, which is 23rd of April. The fees is £24,000 plus a 2,500 additional fees for those who want to do or who will be doing the term 1. So what does the 360-degree view of the energy industry mean? It means that the specialization covers 4 fundamental key areas: general management, energy fundamentals, professional development, and managing challenges. Within these areas, you have different modules, different topics that are covered around portfolio, M&As, finance, business strategy, project management, etc., sustainability, energy trading, and you then get a full view of the energy industry. And this is where I will ask Bikramjit to come in as well as to why choose this MSc. And I know it's been a while now since you've been on this course, although it's just been slightly over 6 months, but I'm sure it feels longer. But can you remember uh, what is it that you were looking for when you chose this MSc, and what about this MSc attracted you the most to select it, Bikram?
I think I completely agree when you say it feels it's just been 6 months, but it feels way longer. Just because of the sheer fact that you kind of get to know a lot about, if you, let's put it this way, if you're already from the energy industry, you will be from a certain stream. But this and the very reason that I got into this course, and I was interested in joining this course, because I know that I need to make this transition from oil and gas to renewables. For some, it's the other way around. For some who want to go purely into sustainability, the speciality of this course is that it kind of gives you a good feel and a good in-depth understanding of all these fields. And for the very fact that maybe you get into thinking you will go into renewables or you will go into energy finance, but you completely go into project consultancy, or the other way around, project consultancy and you go into project finance. And uh, that's the kind of mental aptitude that this course develops, that you kind of have better knowledge, and you know how to choose better in life. You know how to adapt more. You might come with a set preconceived notion, but then you'll know better how to adapt to the industry. And this is what I felt is the best thing in this course up till now.
Thanks, Bikramjit, for that insight. Moving on in terms of the class profile from October 2022 intake, we are looking at we had about 48 students with an average of 3.5 years of work experience, with 25 unique nationalities, as you can see on the right side of the slide, with 78% male and 22% female. I know that that ratio is quite disparate, but the number of females are growing in the program, and I think it'll be handy to have more female students apply as well. Um, Now, moving on to the curriculum bit, of course, having given you an insight about ESCP and an overview about the energy management specialization, it's important to break down and take a deep dive into the curriculum. So, like I said, if you have less than 240 ECTS, which are European credits, you will be required to do an online term starting July. Again, it's important to note that if you have a 3-year degree, then it is most likely that you will be required to do the online term. Of course, if you have a 3-year bachelor's degree plus a 1 or 2 year master's degree, that might be different. But if you only have a 3-year bachelor's degree, then I would suggest that you apply by the 23rd April deadline, because that is the last deadline for those students who have less than 240 ECTS. You study the general management subjects in the online term, but for those who do not require the online term, and even for those who do, starting October, you will begin your core specialization. This year, the classes or the term begins from 2nd of October. So we will cover in London from October to December modules around energy fundamentals, energy management challenges. Then we have January to March in London as well around management and challenges as well. Again, different topics of finance, etc. And then you go on to Paris in your term 3, which is where Bikramjit is in right now. And that's where, oops, sorry. That's where in Paris you will study a couple of core modules, but then your specialization track will be there along with your company consultancy project. After the Paris term in June, you will do your thesis in July for a couple of months, along with your 4 months of internship or direct employment. You could do 2 months of thesis first, sorry, 2 to 3 months of thesis first, and then do your internship. But I think a lot of students opt for doing it simultaneously so that they're not spending a longer time finishing the program. Apart from that, there are also combinations of seminars and site visits and networking events and career events that are a part of your curriculum. Bikramjit, a couple of questions for you here. One, I know you've just started your Paris term. But before that, in London, can you talk a bit about your couple of key or couple of your favorite modules or challenging modules that you came across?
I'll say that for both, the answer is just one module, favorite and challenging. That was finance. And then subsequently, it builds on finances in semester one, principles of finance. That's actually principles in corporate finance. And that builds on to becoming energy risk management. And a lot of other courses like energy trading and energy risk is also something that borrows concepts from finance. And me coming from a core engineering background and then a management background, I never really had that kind of exposure to finance. But having these exposures, and that's the reason I say it's really challenging and interesting, is because now I think I kind of get the aptitude of that. And that's the reason now, probably going a step further, in the Paris term, I've opted for finance track.
Okay, so that was my next question for you as to which specialization you've chosen. So you've answered that. Thanks. So you've chosen finance, all right. Um,
Yes.
with regards to, I know we have a slide about the company consultancy project later, so I'll probably touch upon that later. But I think if you could touch upon a couple of professional development activities that you did in London. So maybe the energy simulation game that you guys had around electronic vehicles, and then your site visit to windmill farms or anything else, if you could talk about that.
Sure. We had the business simulation game, which was really nice. It was intense. It was an 8-hour workshop for 3 days straight, and
Wow.
we were divided into teams. And the core idea was to develop a business strategy for electric vehicles, where each group needs to simulate the kind of core challenges that the market is throwing at you at different scenarios. The day is divided into 4 different scenarios, and you need to keep on constantly adapting and reanalyzing and re-strategizing, which was extremely
Wow.
interesting. Something that so it's basically a very fast-paced version of the entire life cycle of a company, and that's really interesting. This was business simulation game. The energy trading game was something similar, but it was a little shorter. It was 2 days,
Okay.
and there we were given access to a trading terminal. And in there, we based on our energy risk. So there's a reason it's done right after one course, because it kind of borrows concepts from that course, which is energy trading, and you need to apply those concepts in that trading. It's also that simulation is also kind of a game, but you need to, it's individual, it's not group, and you need to short sell, put options, and all those things. You need to do it, you need to apply your concepts, and then uh, you need to stabilize your portfolio in the market, which is really interesting again.
Wow.
And the
Yeah.
third was the last visit that we had in an onshore wind farm. This was somewhere in Oxford, if I'm not wrong. And it was really good because one thing which we saw is that the windmill was connected to a solar plant system as well. So we kind of got the best of both worlds at that time. We kind
Ah,
of saw how the interconnectivity happens. So it's a good thing. It was good. It was a really good experience.
all right, thank you. I think that's very interesting because I know some of the students who have joined us right now. I know some of them come from that trading and strategy background, and I think it'll be quite useful for them to know that there are practical professional trainings around those areas. Um, moving on to the next bit is around specialization tracks. Of course, we have 2 specialization tracks, and Bikramjit already mentioned that he's chosen finance and investment, but the other bit is project management and consultancy. I know, again, in our audience, we have some people coming in from a consulting background. I think, just like Bikramjit said, that you may feel that you will probably stick with that as your specialization track, or it could just happen that you'll adapt and you'll switch to finance and investment, and that's the beauty of it. And the specialization track happens in the Paris term. We've already touched upon the practical seminars. Just a quick look again. We have you will have seminars either on these areas or areas around them. So, for example, blockchain and then energy trading game. We've had seminars in Industry 4.0. You will have seminars across the school as well that you can attend. So, for example, chasing unicorns, around how to run a unicorn business with some of our alumni who have their own unicorn businesses as well. You will also have other networking events as well with alumni, and I think we had one which was a farewell for our students in London as well, which was an alumni night, wherein before they left for Paris and it was their last day on the London campus, we organized an evening wherein we had students. We had a current lot of energy management students, but also we invited alumni and faculty and staff as well. So it was a good networking event wherein you could meet with the alumni. Again, energy trading game is something that Bikramjit has already touched upon. One thing important to note is that we have a trading room on campus and we have a direct tie-up with Bloomberg. So you are able to simulate the actual Bloomberg software on these computers as a Bloomberg terminal and practice the sort of similar simulation that happens in a Bloomberg stockroom. Right. Moving on to one of the most interesting bits about the program, and that's the company consultancy project. Now, CCP, as it's also called, essentially is a group assignment for a real client in groups of 4 to 5 students. Now, it's an actual consulting experience that you will do. We will, and I think before I go on, I'll probably ask Bikramjit to explain how it is going on, because it's something that you will do in the Paris term. So I don't know if it has already started, but I'm sure you must have been giving some sort of briefing about it already, right?
Yes, we have been given a briefing about it. In fact, our kickoff meeting is planned day after tomorrow. So these 2 weeks are kept for all the companies to organize, all the groups to organize their respective kickoff meetings with their companies, and from there on, we'll kind of make a schedule or a map for the mid-term evaluation and the final evaluation. And so for me, I'm attached to one of the companies which is private equity for oil and gas. So it
Okay,
kind of
wow.
works out really well,
So how
and
many companies were there?
yeah. So there were 8 companies. One
Eight
of the
companies.
companies, yeah. So we are 10 group. There were 2 companies which had 2 different kind of projects that they were offering. So
Okay.
there's also a mix there. So,
Okay.
and the best part is that you already have a profile when you come into the university. So
Mhm.
you put in your CVs, you put in your preferences, you give a reasoning as to why you would like to work on certain kind of a project. And that's all considered, because I had put in my requests and preferences. And that's the reason I probably got kind of best of both worlds. So I got finance as well as I got something that I
Yeah.
can take some from my experience, past experience.
Okay. And in terms of the companies that come in for the consulting project, are these companies from different sectors or just the energy sector? But or you're seeing financial companies coming in as well?
So there's a mix.
Yeah.
I'll say it's largely restricted to energy and finance.
Energy and finance.
And
Okay.
finance, yes.
Okay. That's good to know. Uh, all right. So if you have any more questions around the CCPs or anything else, please continue typing them in the Q&A as we go along with the rest of the session. Internships. Of course, it's a bit early for Bikramjit to be at that stage right now, but I think you probably could also share a bit. But internship is something that is a part of the curriculum. It starts from July until December, anywhere in the world, which depends on the visa, and it's a minimum of 4 months. It could be a direct employment as well. Different examples are listed on the slide in terms of the kind of companies where students have gone on to intern. Bikramjit, how is it looking for with regards to an internship for you? And are there any of your classmates who have landed an internship already?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, people who are targeting very specific finance companies, their process starts almost 6 to 8 months before. So quite a few of them have already landed their internships. A friend of mine has just landed an internship in Volvo. That's
Wow.
that's something related to asset management.
Yeah.
Um, but for me, since I have a little bit of experience, I would rather go on to a permanent job. So that's also a kind of a way that is offered. And so yes, but to answer your question, there are people in our class, in my class, who have already landed their internships. The core energy engineering tech-based jobs are more towards the joining date. So people have started
Ah,
applying now.
okay. All right. Good to know. And that sort of brings me to to the next bit as well. And I think I'll need your input here as well. So what about the kind of support that you're getting from the school when it comes to internships and jobs? Can you share a bit about that?
So we have a really nice portal, job teaser.
Mm.
There's a collaboration with the ESCP for job teaser, and we get very curated and specialized CV screening and templates and formats which are specific to ESCP students. Which is another great thing is that there are companies that offer selected jobs only which are open to ESCP students. So that's a good thing, and that's such a big platform that we got a second orientation when we came to the Paris campus. uh,
Wow.
I mean, that's still something that I'm navigating through. And in terms of CVs and help regarding internship information, we keep on having pop-up labs. We used to have them in London, and I think it's
Okay.
still there.
Mhm.
The pop-up labs are really
Yeah.
good. You can go with your CV, and then they could give a quick screen and just tell you, if there's something that you need to add, something that you need to make better, because we're kind of living in a world where CVs are read mostly more by computers than by
Yeah.
humans. So
Yes.
you kind of need to
Absolutely.
adapt to that as well. And that's something that I really like ESCP. That's reaching out to people that, hey, don't put it like this, put it like that. So it's a
All
good
right.
thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Right. And with careers comes an employability. And we have the figures from 2020, and we update these every 3 years. So you will probably have the 2021 employability figures from next year onwards. But if you'll see, the average salary is about 46,700. 93% were employed within 6 months of graduation, whereas more than half were employed before graduation. Important bit is, again, within the industries, if you'll see 69% energy sector, uh, and 6% finance, and then consulting areas. So I think it also sort of ties up with the CCP companies, where you'll see a majority coming in from the energy or the finance sector. And then consultant, analyst, and project managers are the top three graduate job titles that students have gone for. And I think these things keep changing. Of course, this is not something which is limited to any of these titles. It all comes down to what your prior background has been like and what you're looking to achieve from this particular specialization. And I think from the school side, you'll have support to do the same. With regards to your professional network, I already mentioned that we have alumni networking events, etc. But apart from that, you will have strong support from the industry because of our accreditations as well. Now, tricky bit around visas, and I think that's something that some of you may have questions around. But very quickly, there are a couple of visa routes. So you either do the standard route, and standard route basically means you either will get a visitor visa, or for some passport holders, you do not need any visa, and that brings you in London for 6 months, and then you go to Paris under a long studies visa, or again no visa as well. uh, and then you can do your thesis, etc., anywhere where your visa allows. But then your post-study work permit is only limited to the French post-study work visa regulations if you apply for the UK standard visa or the UK visitor visa route. The other option is to apply via the UK graduate route or the UK student route. If you do that, again, you get your 6 months in London, 3 months in Paris under a long stay visa, or a no visa, depends on what passport holder you are. And then you can do your thesis in the UK, in France, or anywhere in the world, again, where visa allows you. So the only difference between the two routes up until now is that if you have the UK student route, then you can actually come back to the UK after Paris and do your internship or thesis. And then The other difference is around the post-study permit, that as per current rules, you will have the option to apply for a post-study work visa in the UK for and to stay which will allow you to stay back in the UK for 2 years and work or look for work. Bikram, you have chosen the standard route, haven't you?
Right.
Any particular reasons why you chose the standard route?
Yes. The thing is, I wanted to work in France. I've worked in France for a year and a half before, so I'm kind of interested in this market, and it made sense for me to come under a visitor visa in London and apply for a study visa in France, which you can extend up till 1 year after your studies.
Yeah,
So
but I
that
think
made
Indian
sense in
nationals,
my case.
sorry,
Sorry.
Indian nationals can extend that for up to 2 years, not just 1 year.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
There's one addition for Indian nationals.
And do you have classmates or colleagues who have opted for the graduate route?
Yes, in fact, majority have opted for the UK graduate route
Okay.
because they want that flexibility to go back to the
Mm.
UK. Most of them are interested in working in London, so it kind of makes sense for them. Yeah.
Right. Now looking into admissions, and this is the final leg of the session, and then we will open for Q&A. With regards to the admissions, of course, in terms of who should apply, well, if you have a bachelor's or master's degree at an upper second class level, you should apply. Of course, there has to be relevant internships or experiences of minimum 12 months. In some cases, we can accept between 6 months to 12 months as well, but we also include part-time experience or internships that you do along with your studies. So it doesn't have to be full-time after the completion of studies. Important bit: English language requirement of IELTS 7 or a TOEFL IBT 100 is required. There are exemptions in cases where, let's say, you come from a native English speaking country, or you've been taught in English in your undergraduate or your master's degree, and you can provide evidence of the same as well. Uh, Of course, having said that, it's also important to note that you need to have some sort of relevant motivation to join the energy management masters. It's not a masters which is general, so it's not something that you can just apply to if you're exploring things. You should have some genuine motivation and passion in the energy sector, one way or the other, to be able to apply. Next application deadline is this Sunday of 23rd April. Very important. So you should be able to submit your application by the Sunday. When you're submitting your application, we require your university transcripts and diploma, your up-to-date CV, your passport, motivation letter, 2 reference letters, and your English language proficiency test. Like I said, you can be exempted if you're a native speaker, if you have studied or worked in a fully English, fully in English for at least 3 years, and you can therefore, and you can provide the evidence for it, and therefore you can be exempted from it as well. Important bits around the admission: if you look at CV, is an important document, maximum 2 pages. Please don't go more than 2 pages. Make sure you have any you meet all the structural criterias, and you have listed everything in a chronological order. You have mentioned clearly your month of work, a bit of description of what you were doing, etc. So make sure you have a good professional CV when you submit it. Motivation letter is again extremely important. 1 page, preferably 2 pages maximum, but make sure if it is for 2 pages, it is relevant content and you're not just waffling on. Uh, okay, it should not be an extension of your CV. With the motivation letter, make sure that it covers a few areas. For example, why you're applying to this specific course. I think, like I said, it's important that you communicate your genuine understanding, passion, and motivation to do a master's in energy management, your previous experiences, both academic, personal, and professional, and skills, and how is that relevant to the course. Understand that this is a program where you will study with a lot of international people coming in from different countries, nationalities, and cultures, along with different professional backgrounds. So you should also include softer skills that will be relevant, for example, teamwork, group work, etc. What's your career goal, and how will this course help you get there, and sort of wider understanding of ESCP and the program. So do your research, or also you can always reach out to me if you need support with your motivation letter. Your interview and is I think the most critical element. After you submit your application, we assess your application, and then we let you know 2 weeks after the deadline whether you progress through to the interview or not. If you do, then you will have an interview with the jury, and that interview will decide whether you get an admit or not. Understand that you may have an excellent academic background and a good motivation letter, but if you perform poorly in the interview, your admission can be cancelled, or rather, you will not get an admission. Whereas at the same time, you may have average academic background and an average motivation letter, but you perform exceptionally well in the interview and you can be given an admit. So interview is extremely critical. It will be online, and make sure you have done enough research. You are, in a non-disturbing environment. You're professionally dressed, etc. for the interview. Any excerpts, Bikramji, that you have or you remember from your interview? Or is it
I
too far
had a
ago?
particularly interesting interview. I had it with an energy policy and ethics professor. I'm really
Okay,
blanking out on the name.
that's all right.
And a professor of statistics. And
Okay.
we had a really nice conversation about. So the main aim of the question, one of the questions was, uh, where would you like to be after your masters? What ideally would you want to do you want to do the same thing because I have some experience, or do you want to do something else? So I said something else, so he wanted me to elaborate something else. So then we had a good conversation about offshore renewables and assets and North Sea, and it was a very enriching experience. It didn't feel like an interview, but I'm sure they must have gauged me in some way or the
Yes.
other. But then the interview was absolutely really nice, and they also uh, and for me, a few questions were also about teamwork, as you mentioned some time back. The professors, they kind of gave me a few situations. What would you do if your teammate was like this, like that? It kind of builds up. It kind of tries to assess your acumen towards working in a team. Because this is something that we have realized, especially in semester two, we have a lot of projects. This is a very hectic semester, and it's really good. It's grilling, but the key thing is to gel well with the team that you're working with. So that's something that they really gauge you on.
Right. Thanks. I think just to add to that, so essentially the interview is not a technical interview. So, but what the panelists will see, or what the jury would like to see, is your passion and how well aware you are. Because again, energy management is a special area. It's a niche area. You cannot go shopping around and then apply for this specialization. So you must have had a genuine reason to apply for this, and that's all that they're looking for. They're looking for, passionate answers, and people who understand the value of this program and what they can do with the degree once they have completed it. Again, within the interview, like I said, it's a conversational interview. You should be able to converse well, and that's where they're judging your communication skills and your ability to sort of break the barriers and talk to people online whom you've never met before, which is what you will do when you will be sharing a classroom with people. It will be a review of your CV and profile as well, and then, like Bikram said, your employability, capacity for teamwork, etc. Important bits around fees and finances. Application fee of 130 euros is applicable to all. There is a tuition fees of 24,000, and then travel accommodation is covered by the students. Again, term one, if you're not exempted from term one, then you will have to pay an additional of £2,500. If it will be mentioned in your admission letter, if you get one from us, as to what your final fees is. Scholarships are available between 2,000 to 4,000 pounds. So there are two scholarships. One is the Global Citizen Talent Scholarship. It's a competitive scholarship. It is provided to you, or it is rewarded to you after you have submitted your application and your interview has been taken. Now, you don't have to apply separately for it. The admission jury will decide whether you get a Global Citizens Talent Award or not. How do they decide? They look at your overall profile, they give you a score, but at the same time, you will be competing with other students and other applicants as well. Hence, make sure you put in that effort in the motivation letter. You make sure your references are strong, and again, you perform well in the interview. The second bit is the Access Opportunity Scholarship. The deadline is Friday, 30th June. Important bit for Access Opportunity is that you must have an admission letter with us to be eligible to apply for Access Opportunity. It's a need-based scholarship. There is a separate application form available on the website. You can download it and submit the application. And you will have to submit relevant financial information as well, which is asked on the form. And the amount is up to £4,000 upon assessment of the finance of the finance team. Right then, you can reach out to me at msc.energy@escp.eu. You can join our Facebook groups, our website. You can book individual consultations with me. You can always reach out to Bikramjit as well on LinkedIn, and we are happy to help you. That brings us to the end of the session. Thank you again, everyone, for listening. Let's open the Q&A box and see what do we have there for us. Right, I'll probably go on to the chat first. So we have a question around, is there an option to do to do it in part-time format? So it's a very simple question because the answer is no. There is no part-time option available. It is a full-time in-person program. You cannot do it part-time or online or hybrid. The next question in the chat is more for Bikramjit, I suppose. I would like to know more regarding the energy trading challenge. Can we take it forward to become an energy trader? Bikram, over.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the whole purpose is to gain, is to gauge your interest in the game. So you will have the energy trading class, which is energy trading course, which is second semester. It will have fundamentals that you learn in semester one, and the energy trading game that will happen after these two courses. So after that, if you're interested, then absolutely yes. It's a very open and again a niche field, and we have professors who are from the industry, and they are more than happy to guide. For me personally, I'm not really looking towards going towards that field, but I have classmates that are interested in energy trading, and they do keep in touch with the professors. So yes, it's absolutely encouraged.
Thank you, Bikram. Another is from Tonghao for me. Hi, Tonghao. So, Bikramjit Tonghao is an enrolled student for the upcoming intake, and well, he's asking about the group chat. There is no group chat for the 2023 intake students, but we will be organizing, and this probably is applicable not yet to all of you, but I think it could be of interest. So next week we are organizing a closed session for all the offer holders for energy management with the program executive. So if you have applied to us and if you have an offer, or if you do get an offer by then, please do join that session. And Tonghao, we will discuss the group chat or how the rest of you can connect with the offer holders in that session. Right. Q&A is taken care of as well. Is there anything else from anyone? You can also feel free to unmute or raise your hand and ask us questions as well if you want. Okay, there's a question by Filippo in the Q&A. Is there a course list for the course from by Filippo? Okay, Filippo, I am happy to quickly share my screen again, and I can show you the course list. Hopefully this will be useful to you. So Yes. So this is the course or the curriculum list that you can look at. These are the modules that will be taught to you. If you are required to do the term one, then this bit is will be key. The July to September bit. Otherwise, you have the other elements mentioned over here. Rest of it is also available on our website. Right. We'll give a couple of more minutes for questions. If there aren't any, then we can call it a day, but just a couple of more minutes. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask about careers, jobs, etc.
There's a question from Tonga.
Okay. Okay. So if you apply for the graduate route, can you extend your French visa upon graduation for professional opportunities? So technically, if you apply for the UK graduate route, you do still get your 1 year post-study permit in France, but you also are eligible to apply for the post-study permit in the UK. But you cannot extend the post-study, of course, unless you get a sponsored position from a company. But in France, you will still get 1 year post-study, whereas you will also have the option to apply for the UK post-study work permit. I hope that's clear, Donghao. Filippo asks again if I saw that there's another deadline in June. Is it correct? Yes, there is a deadline in June, but that's a restricted deadline. If you are someone who requires term one, then your deadline is 23rd April. Also, I would say that if you need a visa, then I would suggest that you try and apply by the April deadline. Of course, you could still apply by the June deadline, but it will be much more convenient and easy for you if you apply by the April deadline. Another question in the Q&A. Can we defer admission for the next intake? Deferring is done on a very case-by-case basis. You can, of course, request for a deferment, but it will be assessed by the jury, who will then see if a deferring process is applicable or not. There are policies around deferral available to read on our website, so you could take a look or reach out to me about it. Tonghao again in the chat. So the UK graduate route is like standard route plus 2 years of visa in the UK. Sort of, but also no, because the UK graduate route is a student route, and there are quite a lot of differences as well. For example, that if you come on a UK if you come on a UK student route or the UK graduate route, you also get sort of a right to work. You can work part-time while as a student for up to 20 hours a week. There are also elements around healthcare and health insurance that you can take benefits of. Also, I think right to tenancy is available to you if you come on a student route. Whereas if you come on a standard route, which is the visitor route, you have very limited rights because you're essentially just a tourist for 6 months. And as a tourist, you do not have too many rights. And of course, yes, you get the option of 2 years of post-study work permit in the UK after your studies if you come on a student route.
Also, what's just one more
Yes.
thing? It's under the student UK graduate route, you can also open your bank account, which you cannot do
Yes.
in visitor visa. So
Visitor visa.
if you're considering a visitor visa, please keep this also in mind, that as a visitor, you're not supposed to open a bank account in UK.
Yeah. And it's important that if you're looking to work here, you should have a bank account, at least in the UK, if you're looking for a job in the UK. Okay, we've questions in the Q&A now by Kostov again. How many students generally apply on this course, and what is the average acceptance rate? I really like and do not like this question. I get asked quite a number of times. Average applications can go up to easily over 200, but it could vary. Acceptance rate, it depends. So I'll I'll say one simple thing, Kaustav. If your application form is strong, if your motivation letter is strong, if your references are good, if your interview performance, most importantly, is good, then you will be given an admit no matter what. As simple as that. When you are applying, whether you're late in the application or admission cycle, whether you're early, all of that will not be held against you. If you are a deserving candidate, you will be given an admit, as simple as that. Of course, that still means that you have to adhere to the deadlines. You cannot just apply any random day. You have to apply within the deadlines. But if you do, and if you're good, you will be given an admit, as simple as that. How many students will be there? Is there any male-female statistics if you didn't miss? So you will have an average of about 45 to 50 students. Male-female ratio as per the last intake was about 78% males and 22% females. But we have a lot more female candidates for the upcoming year as well. Since I look after admissions, I have seen that increase. So that's nice. Hopefully that answers your question. After how long of a successful interview are we typically informed of an offer? That's a good question. So let's look at the timeline. Once the deadline passes, so the deadline is 23rd April, the upcoming one. It takes about 2 weeks for us to get back to you to let you know whether you have processed through to the interview round or not. And then from the interview date, it takes another about 10 days to 2 weeks. So you're looking at just about 4 weeks from the deadline until the final decision on your application. So I hope that helps. All right. Any other questions then? Anything for Bikramjit? All right. If no questions, then we will call it a day. Thank you again, everyone, for joining in. The recording will be shared with you. So in case you've missed out on some bits, you can see and rewatch the recordings, and you can see the little bits around curriculum and statistics and fees, etc. Just remember, upcoming deadline is 23rd of April. If you have any questions, then feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to me at the email address that I've just shared in the chat box. Best of luck and thank you. And thank you, Bikramjit, again for joining in and for helping out.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.